मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome all the devotees who have come here today to participate in this discussion related to Bhagavad Gita. So today is a very auspicious day, being the Gita Jayanthi day, Mokshada Ekadashi. So to be able to discuss this scripture, on this particular day is extremely auspicious. So it is said that there are three prasthanatrayas, three most important scriptures among the Shruti, Smriti and the Upanishad. So among the Shruti it is Vedanta Sutra, among the Smritis it is Bhagavad Gita, and the Upanishads, Upanishadic Prasthana. So all the great acharyas, they have commented on all these three important divisions of the Vedic truths. Right, so today we are looking at Gita and we are going to use Srila Yamunacharya's Gita Artha Sangraha summary to go through the Gita. So mainly we'll be looking at the first 9 chapters. So I'll be reciting the verses as well as we will discuss their meanings and also look at the Bhagavad Gita itself and various shlokas from the Gita which actually match with this. So the way Yamunacharya has composed his Gita Artha Sangraha, it's very beautiful. If you see, this is just about how many verses? It's just it's 32 verses. That's all it is, right? So it's a very condensed text. What he has done is the way he has, the way Yamunacharya has summarized this, he summarizes the entire Gita in the first verse, and then he summarizes 666 chapters in verse number 2, 3, and 4, and then there is one verse per chapter. Okay, so that is how he has done, and then there are some concluding verses also. So of course today we are not going to do the entire Gita Artha Sangraha. Gita Artha Sangraha in Sanskrit means the summary of Gita, you can say, in a way, right? So let's look at it, and it's a very beautiful composition. I really fell in love with the Sanskrit composition, the scholarship, and also the choice of words, and the way the meaning actually gets integrated. Right, so without spending further time, we will go into the verses. So the first verse is Swadharma Jnana Vairagya Sadhye Bhakteka Gocharaha Narayana Param Brahma Gita Shastre Samiritah. Right, so in this verse, he summarizes the entire Gita Shastre. So what is Gita Shastre? Narayanam Param Brahma. It is directed towards Lord Narayana. Right, so of course, Narayana, Krishna. So it's Gita Artha Sangraha only, yes. So Narayana Param Brahma Gita Shastre Samirita. So he's talking about the Supreme Lord as Narayana here. Okay. And how do you obtain this Narayana Parabrahma? So he's saying that the full Gita Shastra is to understand Sriman Narayana. And how he is to be understood? Only by bhakti. Bhakti eka gochara. Bhakti eka gochara means bhakti is the only way to understand Narayana. Okay. But then before bhakti, what are the other things that Krishna mentions as a path towards bhakti? Correct? Because Krishna doesn't start the Gita directly with bhakti, right? So he says 3 things: Swadharma, Jnana, and Vairagya. Okay, so the Swadharma is, of course, part of the Karma Yoga, which is, please note, not only in the 3rd and 5th chapter, But even in the 18th chapter, Krishna talks about Swadharma, right? Because in the 18th chapter, famously, Krishna says to Arjuna that if you don't fight this war, O Arjun, on my direction, you will nevertheless be directed to fight as per your own nature. You'll be wrongly directed. Krishna tells in the 18th chapter also. So please try to understand this concept of Swadharma. It's not that it's only in the beginning of the Gita and later, Krishna has bypassed it, saying that, these are secondary, tertiary concepts, so they are not so important. No, Krishna holds on to this concept until the 18th chapter. Right. In fact, that verse Shreyan Swadharma Vigunaha Paradharman Sunishtitan, Krishna speaks in the 3rd chapter as well as the 18th chapter. Just few verses before Sarvadharman, Krishna speaks that verse in 18th chapter also. So, and there are ample number of verses in the 18th chapter that talk about Swadharma. So, Swadharma is there throughout the Gita. Correct. So, that is never negated. Then there is Jnana. That means you have to do everything with knowledge. That means it's not just doing one Swadharma, but it is about doing it with knowledge. So, that knowledge is spoken of in the 4th chapter. It is spoken even in the later part of the Gita. In the 5th chapter, Krishna talks about integrating karma in Jnana, if you recall. 4th and 5th chapter. So jnana is also there, right? So that means Krishna wants us to do action with knowledge. And then vairagya. So what is this vairagya? So please note, let's not misunderstand. Vairagya in the Gita is not vairagya from action. It is from the result of the action, correct? Because in so many places in the Gita, from beginning to end, Krishna keeps talking about this, that you have to be detached, Arjuna, from the results of the action, right? It's not only 2.38 where Krishna says Sukha Dukkha Samay Kritva Labha Labha Jaya Jaya. Throughout, in literally every chapter, you will find something to that effect, right? Even till the end. Krishna repeatedly keeps telling Arjuna that, be detached. Even if you see the 6th chapter opening verse, Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotiya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niraktir na chakriya. Krishna says, who is a sannyasi? Anashrita karma phalam. That means who is not attached to the results of action. So this concept, this is the vairagya of the Bhagavad Gita, right? Because Gita vairagya is not about giving up action. It is about giving up the attachment to the result. It is giving up the attachment to the result, which Krishna is repeatedly talking. That is the vairagya. So these 3 things are there. There is Swadharma, Jnana, Vairagya. These are all sadhya. These are all ultimately some steps. But ultimately one has to come to bhakti, okay, to understand Narayana. Such a beautiful summary. If you just think about this verse of Yamunacharya, you can appreciate how the entire Gita is, very nicely captured in it. Okay, now if you want further direction, let's see the next verse. So now then what Krishna does is, Yamunacharya, he summarizes 666 chapters. Okay, so let's look at, so in this way, we are able to release the entire Gita in a very short time. Okay, and that's what we are going to do today. Look at the second verse. Jnana karmatmike nishthe yoga lakshyeshu samskrite atmanubhuti siddhyarte purva shatkena chodite. So purva shatka means what? Purva shatka in Sanskrit, simple word. The first 6 chapters, the first 1/3 of the Gita. What does the first 1/3 of the Gita talk about? What is the goal of the first 1/3? Atmanubhuti siddhyarte. It is to bring you to the platform of self-realization. Please note, that is where the 6th chapter ends. The 6th chapter ends with Krishna talking about a yogi, correct? And Krishna has actually not yet begun speaking about Bhakti Yoga. The last verse of the 6th chapter says, Yoginam api sarvesham adgater antaratmana. But until that time, till 6.46 in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about achieving self-realization. How can you achieve self-realization? Through the process of yoga. Okay, that is what Yamunacharya says. Jnana karmatmike nishte yoga lakshye. Yoga lakshye means the goal of the first 6 chapters is to bring you to yoga, to this platform of yoga. And how do you reach yoga? Jnana karmatmike nishte, through a combination of jnana and karma yoga. So please try to understand the Gita's logic. In the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th chapters, Krishna is speaking about jnana and karma yoga. Why does he speak about all that? Because by performing karma yoga with knowledge, one comes to the platform of one obtains the eligibility to do yoga, right? To do yoga, that eligibility. And how can we say that? If you carefully see, you have to recall 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita for this purpose. In the 5th chapter Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna do towards the end? Krishna devotes a large part of the 5th chapter towards a concept called Samadarshi. Okay, Krishna. So basically, the whole idea is that when you practice Karma Yoga with knowledge over a period of time, you come to a platform of Samadarshi. That means you become equipoised in pleasure, pain, equipoised towards various objects, equipoised to friends and enemies. So all that Krishna says, from 5.18 onwards, if you remember, right? Pandita Samadarshinaha. From that verse onwards till 6.9, Krishna is talking only about Samadarshi. So how do you achieve Samadarshi? By Jnana Karma. That means by performing Karma Yoga with knowledge. One learns to, by actual practice of that, one becomes equipoised. And when one becomes equipoised, then one can practice yoga. Yoga lakshya susamskrite. See, susamskrite is again a very beautiful word in Sanskrit. Susamskrite means it's like purification. It's just like we offer anything in the altar. We all know, right? Like we offer incense, we offer lamb, we offer flowers. Before we offer, we always do a prokshana, right? A little 2 drops of water we will put on that, and then only we will offer it. So that is susamskrite. That means anything the samskara is done. Samskara actually like purification. So jnana and karma yoga actually purify one's consciousness and makes one eligible to practice yoga. And that yoga, what will it do? That yoga will give you Atma Anubhuti, Siddhyarte. That means self-realization it will bring you to. And this is the goal of the first 6 chapters of the Gita. So again, if you look at the second verse, if you think about its meaning very carefully, you can immediately recall the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Correct. Then look at the verse number 3, where Yamunacharya summarizes the middle 6 chapters of Gita, that is 7 to 12, which is the Bhakti section. मध्य में भगवत तत्व यात्यात्म अवाप्ति सिद्धये ज्ञान कर्म अभिनिर्वृत्यो भक्ति योग प्रकीर्तितः. So very clearly he has said madhya mein means the middle 6 chapters. What do they do? Bhakti yoga prakirtitah. It is glorifying bhakti yoga, right? Beginning from chapter 6, 7 until chapter 12, Krishna is talking about how to do bhakti yoga. And what is this bhakti yoga for? Bhagavat Tattva, to understand the truth about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yatatma Avapti Siddha. Yatatma Avapti Siddha means to understand it perfectly. That means to actually comprehend and understand the true nature of Bhagavan. Okay, so that you can do bhakti yoga. So please try to understand from chapter 7 to 12, what is Krishna doing? Like if you remember the chapter names, right? In Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, we have read it. Knowledge of the absolute, the most confidential knowledge, the opulences of the absolute, the universal form, attaining the supreme 8th chapter, devotional service. So all this, what do? They talk about Bhagavat Tattva Yatyatma Avapti Siddhaya. That means in great detail, it talks about that nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the truth about him, his various features, his confidential aspects, and so on. So why it talks about all this? So that you can practice Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga Prakirtita. And another thing he says, see, till now it's okay, but another thing he says, Jnana Karma Abhinivrityo. That means, and this Bhakti Yoga is to be practiced without giving up what is previously said, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. See, please try to understand, because in the first 6 chapters, Krishna spoke about doing Karma Yoga with Jnana. So somebody may say, Arey, now I'm going to do Bhakti Yoga between 7 to 12 chapters. Does it mean that I have nothing to give and take with that? No, certainly not, right? Because when Krishna is speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna wants Arjuna to do Bhagavad Gita to fight, right? To fight the battle of Kurukshetra, which is the immediate reason why he is speaking the Gita. And Krishna wants him to practice Bhakti Yoga with that Jnana and Karma, which he has understood from first 6 chapters, not giving it up. So Yamunacharya is reminding us of that. See, this is the beauty here in this composition. He's reminding us that, hey, look, 7 to 12 chapter is certainly talking about Bhakti Yoga towards Bhagavan by understanding his knowledge, by understanding his true self. But that Bhakti Yoga is not to be done by giving up what has been said before. You cannot think that Paila 5 chapter mein whatever has happened, okay, so let's put it aside. Now I'm a Bhakta. I have nothing to give and take with that. No. Jnana Karma Abhinivrityo Bhakti Yoga Prakriti. So with that only Bhakti Yoga. So this is the middle 6 chapters. And then the last 6 chapters he summarizes in text number 4. Again, very beautiful composition. Okay, so let's look at that. Pradhana Purusha Vyakta Sarveshwara Vivechanam Karmadhir Bhakti Rityadi Purvashesho Antyamoditaha. Okay, Purva Shesho Antyamoditaha means Purva, that means Antyamoditaha means the last part, right? So we are talking, Yamunacharya is now summarizing the last 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, which is chapter number 13 to 18. And what does he do there? Yamunacharya says, Purva Shesho, whatever was left out in the first 12 chapters. So some things were left out. See, Krishna in the first 6 chapters, he spoke about Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, towards yoga as the goal, self-realization. Middle 6 chapters, he spoke about Bhakti Yoga by understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the last 6, what does he do? There were some topics in the first 12 which were left out. Purva Shesho, something was left, Shesho. And what was it left? So 2 things. So in that, again, there are 2 divisions. Okay. One is called Tattvam and one is called Hita. Tattva means what? Tattva means about material nature. Pradhana. You can see the first word, Pradhana. Purusha. That means the Atma. Avyakta. Sarveshwara. Sarveshwara here refers to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vivechanam. That means there were some topics in the first 12 chapters related to material nature, Atma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which were left out. That Krishna speaks. And where does Krishna speak that? Krishna speaks that in 13, 14, and 15. If you recall 13, 14, and 15, what happens in the 13th chapter? Krishna talks about Purusha, he talks about Prakriti, correct? He talks about all that, knowledge, those various aspects of knowledge, the knower and all that. And 14th chapter is again talking about what? He's talking about Pradhana. He's talking about 3 modes of material nature. That means about material nature he's talking. And in the 15th chapter, what is he talking? Yoga of Supreme Person. About Paramatma he's talking actually in the 15th chapter. So that means in the last 6 chapters, the first half, that is 13, 14, and 15, Krishna is talking about Tattva. Tattva means, right? These are Tattva only, right? The Supreme Lord is Tattva, Atma is Tattva, Prakriti is Tattva, right? Prabhupada also, if you recall, in the introduction to the Gita, Prabhupada says that 5 things are there in the Gita. Supreme Lord, Atma, Prakriti, and Kala Karma, right? These 2 things are also there. But the first 3 things are the Tattva, basic Tattva. Okay, so that Krishna is speaking in the 13 to 15 chapter, Yamunacharya says. And 16 to 18, what does he speak? Karmadir Bhakti Rityadihi. That means about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, whatever was left out. Krishna did speak about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga in the beginning, but some things were left out, Karma Jnana. So from 16, 17, 18, Krishna talks about that. If you recall, right, the divine and demonic, the divisions of faith, and ultimately the final conclusion of the Gita. Right. So this is all spoken. So this is how Yamunacharya beautifully summarized. It's a classic summary if you think about it. Now, if you go to the chapter by chapter summary, it's just classic. Okay, so we will do that. We will today just try to relish the first 9 chapters because that's what we have done until now. So we will look at the first 9 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Correct? So we are starting with chapter 1 now. Look at the verse. It's such a beautiful verse. It's Asthana Sneha Karunya Dharma Dharma Diyakulam Partham Prapanyam Uddishya Shastravasaranam Kritam. So this is chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, this is from chapter 1 till 2.10. So what is the summary? How is he summarizing Yamunacharya? Asthana Sneha Karunya. Asthana means Asthana, where you should not show Sneha and Karunya. Asthana. Asthana matlab jahan par aapko rakna nahi hai. What? Sneha and Karuna. Sneha is love, affection. Karuna is compassion. Asthana. So where you are not supposed to show love and compassion, Arjuna started showing that. That's the point here. Asthana Sneha Karunya. Dharma Dharma Diyakulam. He thought dharma to be adharma and vice versa. The dharma of a Kshatriya, he started thinking that to be adharma. Right? And the adharma of all these people, he was thinking that what is the use of killing? Yeah, let's recall the entire first chapter Gita. What is the first chapter? This is all that is, right? Dharma, dharma diyakulam. He thought, what is dharma? This Kshatriya dharma. He started thinking that to be adharma. And then what happens finally? Partham prapannam uddishya. He surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Where does he surrender? 2.7, 2.8, right? Remember that. Karpanya doshopahata swabhava. Those verses, Arjuna surrenders. Partham prapannam uddishya Shastra avataranam kritam. Avataranam means that is how the Shastra was born. Okay, this whole Shastra is born because this Arjuna started showing compassion and love in a place where he should have never shown that and started thinking dharma to be adharma. Correct? So this is chapter 1 summary. Again, very beautiful. If you look at the Sanskrit, if you try to recall the whole Gita, right? It's just amazing. Look at the 6th verse. That is the summary of the 2nd chapter. नित्यात्म संगे कर्म गोचराः सांख्य योग दीहि द्वितीये स्थितधीर लक्षा प्रोक्ता तन्मोह शांते. Okay, द्वितीय means 2nd chapter. Where does the 2nd chapter lead to? Stitadhi laksha. Remember Stitadhi Muni, that is from 2.54 to 2.72. Krishna talks about, Stitadhir Muni Ruchate, those verses, right? Stita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha, from that till 2.72, Krishna is talking about Stitadhi, how to be a Stitadhi. Stitadhi means what? Someone who is self-realized. So how to reach that position? And by talking about this, what happened? Tanmoha Shante. Arjuna was pacified. So please remember, by 2nd chapter only, Arjuna got pacified. Just that he had some more doubts in his mind, which he had to ask, but he was pacified by the end of the 2nd chapter. Okay, so the goal of 2nd chapter was what? To bring you to Stitadhir. Now, how to become Stitadhi? Nitya Atma Sangha Karma Eha Gocharaha Sankhya Yoga Dihi. So there are 2 topics he says in the 2nd chapter, Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya Yoga Dihi, that dual word over there, Sankhya and Yoga. These are the 2 things in the 2nd chapter. So if you remember reading Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's Gita commentary also, if you recall, at 2.39, Prabhupada says actually, till now Krishna spoke about Sankhya Yoga. Now onwards he is going to talk about Buddhi Yoga. I hope all of you remember that. 2.39 Gita's purport. Right. So Sankhya and Yoga. Okay. So the first part of the 2nd chapter is Sankhya, and the second part of the 2nd chapter is Yoga. Which Yoga? It's Karma Yoga. Correct. Karma Yoga performed with Dihi, Buddhi. You may also recall this term Buddhi Yoga, reading in Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? Buddhi Yoga means what? Yoga Dihi. Yoga Dihi is nothing but Buddhi Yoga. That means doing Karma Yoga with intelligence, with understanding. That is actually the second part of the 2nd chapter, correct? So first part is Sankhya. And what is spoken in Sankhya? Nitya Atma. Nitya Atma means the eternality of the soul has been spoken about. That is Sankhya Yoga. And Asanga Karmeha Gocharaha. Asanga Karmeha Gochara means what? Doing Nishkama Karma Yoga. That is spoken in the Yoga section. If you recall 2.47, Karmanyavadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana, all the verses surrounding that. It is all talking about Asanga Karme Gocharaha. Krishna is talking, do Karma Yoga in Asanga. Asanga means without attachment to the fruit. And with the Buddhi, Dihi. Correct? So this Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga with Buddhi in Krishna consciousness. That's what it is referred to as. This is 2nd chapter of Gita. Correct? And and what is the goal of this? To bring you to Stitadhir. To bring you to a sage of a steady mind. That's the translation Prabhupada gives of Stitadhi. If you remember 2.54. Correct? Tan Moha Shanti, pacified. Okay. Now onwards, we will look at the next verses for the 3rd chapter. This is again, we'll spend some more time on these as we'll go a little bit slowly now. Asatya lokarakshaye guneshwaropya kartritam sarveshwareva nyasyokta tritiye karma karyata. So tritiye means the 3rd chapter, karma karyata. 3rd chapter is karma yoga. What is Krishna speaking? Beautiful. In fact, this verse, I really, this was one of my favorite verses because I felt the summary here is very beautiful. It's right. So look at what Yamunacharya says here. He says there are 4 characteristics of Karma Yoga that Krishna speaks in the 3rd chapter. What are they? First is Asaktya. Asaktya means what? With detachment. Tasmad Asakta Satatam. Correct? If you remember 3rd chapter, Krishna says. That means Nishkama Karma Yoga. That means doing your activity without that attachment to the result. Asaktya. Second is Loka Rakshaye. Loka Rakshaye means what? The concept of working for the welfare of society, right? Which is again there, if you see, Krishna speaks about that in 3rd chapter, in verse when he talks about Janaka, correct? That kings like Janaka did their prescribed duties only for the benefit of the society. Correct? Krishna says. I don't know why I forgot that verse. 3.18. Yeah, karmane vai samsiddhim astita janakadeya loka sangraham evapi. So that loka sangraha is calling here as Loka Rakshaye. That means for the benefit of people. See, because somebody may say that I am going to do detached work, but I am going to be a smuggler. I'm going to do some, I'm going to sell lottery tickets. but in a very detached way. If somebody buys the lottery, it's fine. If not, then also fine. But unfortunately, that is not lokaraksha. It is not for the welfare of the society. Correct. So it is not, you're not supposed to do only detached way, but also lokaraksha. It should be for the benefit of people in general, in line with dharma. Correct. That is the second attribute which Yamunacharya says, which is covered so in detail by Krishna. If you read 3.20 to 3.25 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking only about lokaraksha. Krishna, in fact, says that when I come to this world, I also do everything for the benefit of people. Because if I were not to do my duties, then the whole world will be put into ruination. Krishna says 3.25. Correct. So lokaraksha. Third thing is what he says. Guneshwarope kartritanam. Guneshwarope kartritanam means what? Understanding that the modes are the doer and I am not the doer. Correct. Because in karma yoga, this is also an important principle, that I don't become puffed up. That means whatever talent I may have, let's say I'm a good speaker, somebody is a good singer, someone is a good painter, somebody is a good right administrator, like Arjuna, someone is a good warrior, whatever it may be. It is only because we have this body which is made up of the three modes, and these three modes are allowing us to do these things. So I'm not the doer. Krishna says that, right, in 3.27. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. So the third chapter reminds us that you're not supposed to think that you are the doer. It's actually the modes which are enabling you to do whatever you're doing. So don't become puffed up. So that's the third attribute of karma yoga. And finally, what? Sarveshwareva Nesyokta. Sarveshwara means a supreme lord. Nesyokta means what? You have to offer everything to him. Correct? This is 3.9 Bhagavad Gita, if you recall. Yajnartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Krishna is saying that work has to be done as an offering to the Supreme Lord, otherwise it will bind you to this world. So such a beautiful summary. Just think about it. If you remember these four things, then you have understood what is karma yoga. Done with detachment, done for benefit of society, done without the pride that I am the doer, and done as an offering to the Supreme. Okay, so this is how Yamunacharya is summarizing the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, very, very precisely. Right, now let's go to the summary of the fourth chapter. Okay, prasangat swasvabhavoktihi karmano karmatasya cha veda jnanasya mahatmyam chaturdha dhyaya uchyate. So here he says that in this Chaturtha Adhyaya, in the fourth chapter, Krishna again talks about four things. What are the four things Krishna is talking about? First is prasangat swasvabhavoktihi. Prasangat means as a matter of the discussion. Prasanga. It's something like sometimes in a in a lecture, sometimes a person is speaking something and then some point comes up, and because that point comes up, he goes in one direction, and then later he comes back to the main theme. It happens, right, always with speakers. So that is called prasangat. So what is a prasangat and what is swasvabhavukti? Swasvabhavukti means his own nature. This is from 4.1 to 4.10 Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is talking about how he gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, how he comes every millennium again and again, and how if somebody understands his birth and appearance, he will never have to take birth again in this world. Right? That entire section is Swasvabhavukti, his own Swabhava, Krishna is speaking. Why is he speaking that all of a sudden? Because, see, please try to understand, in third chapter, Krishna spoke about Karma Yoga. Why suddenly he starts talking? Okay, so here there is a commentary. Okay, the commentary of Ramanuja here is is that when Krishna spoke Karma Yoga to Arjuna, this is a commentary. So he says that Arjuna thought in his mind, Are, just by doing Karma Yoga, I can get connected. Just by doing my action, I can get connected to the Supreme. This looks like a new philosophy to me. He had this thought in my mind. So Krishna wanted to remind him, hey, this is not something new what I'm talking to you. What I'm talking to you, I had spoken this to Vivaswan also. And from there, Krishna starts, that first 10 verses of the fourth chapter. So that is the prasanga. That means in that context, Krishna spoke about his own swabhava. That is the first part of the fourth chapter. What is the second part of the fourth chapter? Karmano akarmatasya cha. If you recall fourth chapter, those of you who have read carefully fourth chapter, even the Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, you will remember that karma, akarma, these two words come very often in the fourth chapter. Okay, generally karma is translated by Prabhupada as action and akarma as inaction. So Ramanuja elaborates a little bit more what is this inaction. So he says inaction means knowledge. Are you understanding? See, there is karma and there is akarma. Karma means what? Action. And akarma means what? He says, when you say inaction, it means what? Knowledge. That means there is knowledge. Okay. So karmano akarmatasya means to see action and inaction and inaction and action. You will recall there is this line that comes in Prabhupada's Gita also, fourth chapter. Okay, that means the second discussion in the fourth chapter is about what? How to see karma in jnana and jnana in karma. That means Krishna wants to tell Arjuna that, hey, Arjuna, don't look at these as separate. You have to get it together. See, the whole Gita now is about integration. Gita, Krishna doesn't actually break things and say that, hey, you have to do only this. No, it's not like that. Krishna is actually building it up. As he's building it up, he's adding to it. Okay, so in karma, there has to be jnana also. And if somebody is saying, I'm only going to do jnana, in that also there has to be karma. So that is the second part of the fourth chapter of the Gita. Karmano akarma tasya cha. So this is the point. The third thing is what? Bedha. Bedha means what? Different types of karma yoga. So here you may recall from 4.25 to almost, I think 4.30 or something, there are some 10 or dozen varieties of karma yoga that Krishna talks about. Krishna talks about worshipping the devatas. Krishna talks about worshipping the impersonal Brahman. Krishna talks about, the inhaling and exhaling process. So all these are all different ways in which Veda means what? Different ways in which you can connect to Ishvara. Please try to understand. In the third chapter, Krishna spoke, na Sarveshwareva Nyasyokta. Sarveshwareva Nyasyokta means what? Karma yoga should be done as an offering to Supreme. So somebody may say, how can I connect to the Supreme? In the fourth chapter, Krishna mentions a dozen ways of connecting to the Supreme. Okay. And then Krishna says, if you want to know any of it, you should go to a guru. That is why that in that context 4.34 comes. Tadviti pranipate. If you want to know about these ways, go to a guru and learn, Krishna is saying. And what is the fourth part of the fourth chapter? Jnanasya Mahatmya. You may recall Jnanasya Mahatmya. Beautiful verses in the last part of the fourth chapter where Krishna says that the transcendental knowledge is like a boat. It is like a blazing fire that burns your misunderstandings to ashes and so on. So that is all Jnanasya Mahatmya, the greatness of transcendental knowledge. Okay, so these are four topics in the fourth chapter. One is what? His own Swabhava, how to see karma and jnana in each other, different types of connection to the Supreme, and finally, the glory of knowledge. Okay, so after having spoken all this, then what does Krishna do? Krishna goes to the fifth chapter. Of course, fifth chapter starts with Arjuna asking a question. So Arjuna's question, Arjuna is still not able to integrate. Please try to understand. See, this is the problem. Right? This is a problem with many of us also, that even though we hear Gita, we find it difficult to integrate. We think that only one thing has to be done. So Arjuna is thinking, hey, you told me two things. Tell me which is more better. He's asking that, right? And which I should do. Krishna is, Arjuna is asking that question in the fifth chapter. That's how the fifth chapter opens up, right? Yeah. Sanyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogam cha shamshasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunichitam. Just tell me one which is more beneficial. Krishna says. Arjuna is asking. So what is the fifth chapter summary? Look at text number 9 here. Karma yogasya saukaryam shaigryam kaschana tadvida brahma jnana prakashascha panchamadhyaya uchyate. Again, it's actually a beautiful summary. Panchamadhyaya, fifth chapter. So what is the summary? Karma yogasya saukaryam. First thing is the simplicity of karma yoga. Okay, I'll tell you the verses also in that. Which verse is talking about this being simple? Okay. See, if you look at 5.3 Gita, what does Krishna say? Nyayasa nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvandohi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. If you remember 5.3, what does Krishna say? Krishna says that, see, one who does not desire the fruits of his action, he is always renounced. Who is that person? Karma yogi only, Nishkama Karma yogi. Such a person is sukham bandha. Sukham means sukse, with great happiness. That means what? That means the pure jnana yogi who is there, he is not having sukham bandha pramuchyate. Right? His process is more difficult. Krishna is automatically implying that over here. Because Krishna is saying, karma yogi sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Very easily. So that is saukaryam. As per Yamunacharya here. Saukarya means what? The simplicity. Why is it simple? We need to understand. See, please try to understand. The beauty of karma yoga is that what one's body or prakriti is made for, Karma Yoga is asking you to do that. It's very simple, right? My body and my modes of the modes of nature which has created my body and mind dictate my body and mind to work in a certain fashion. And Karma Yoga saying do that only. But do that with those four criteria which we saw earlier. Be detached from the result. Okay. Um, do it for the welfare of society. Do it without pride that you are the doer and offer it to the Supreme. If so it's so simple. You don't have to do something that is artificial. That's why it's called simple. That's why Krishna says Sukham Bandhat Pramuchate. For Arjuna, fighting is actually simple. He was not afraid of fighting. Arjuna was concerned because of that love for Bhishma and Drona. Otherwise, that fighting per se, Arjuna, one name of Arjuna is Ranotsava. One who takes pleasure in fighting. See, that's the point, right? That is why it is Sukham Bandhat Pramuchate. Imagine somebody like Arjuna is there, he takes pleasure in fighting and he is told that you have to fight. And in this way, you can connect to the Supreme. Are maja hai yaar. What I like to do, you're asking me to do that only. And only you are giving me some conditions you are giving. It's not that you can just fight in any way. You have to fight in a detached spirit for the result. See, please try to understand this. There is detachment from the result, but there is not detachment from the action. So doing that action itself gives you a kind of satisfaction and a self-confidence. And that's actually life, correct? Let's think about life. What is life? What we like to do, when we do that, whether the result comes or no, just because we did what we like to do, there is pleasure in that. Yes, of course there is. That's actual reality. Correct. So that's why Saukaryam, Karma Yogasya Saukaryam. It is simple. Shaigryam, it is quick. Shaigryam means what? It is quick. Okay. Look at that verse. I'm just quoting a verse from Gita which substantiates this point. 5.6. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogatah yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadi gacchati. Achirenadi gacchati means what? Prabhupada translate nachirena means without delay. That is Shaigryam. You understood? Shaigryam means what? Quickly. See, it's not only simple. Somebody may say, maybe it is simple, but it's going to take a lot of time, man. No, I'm not interested in that. No, it is not only Saukaryam, but it's also Shaigram. It's quick. It's quick. Okay, that's what Krishna says right here. Yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadi gacchati in the 6th verse of the 5th chapter. Right. So that's what. Okay, that is an indication of Shaigram. So what is the 5th chapter talking? First, it is talking how Karma Yoga is simple. It is talking about how Karma Yoga can quickly, not only simple, quickly, give you the fruit. Third thing is very important. Kaschana tadvidaha. Kaschana tadvida means the process of Karma Yoga. See, there is one process also, one very important, the heart of Karma Yoga, which Krishna had already spoken in the 3rd chapter, but Krishna is elaborating that in the 5th chapter. What is that? If you remember, I had told, right, in the 3rd chapter, Gita had told about this point about this. 1 second, let me look at that. Guneshwarope kartiritam. That means not thinking oneself to be the doer. This concept now Krishna extends it like anything in the 5th chapter. That is what he's referring to as Kaschana Tattva. I mean, the main process of Karma. What is that? I mean, I'll read those verses from the Gita. It's really worth meditating upon. If you see those verses from 5.8, 9 onwards, what does Krishna say? Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tadvid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachan swapan swashan. Okay, I'm not reading the remaining verses also, but Prabhupada's translation I'm reading. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because when he's doing all these things, whether it is speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening or closing his eyes, he knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that is aloof from them. This understanding, Krishna says, you have to cultivate as you do Karma Yoga. That, see, I have a family, I'm maintaining my family, I'm working, I'm doing all these things. But who is doing it is actually, I'm not doing anything. It's my body which is doing all this. My body is just doing this because my body is, having a particular combination of the modes, and my body has received these roles in this world. So I'm just doing these things. But actually, I'm separate from it. This is the heart of Karma Yoga. This is the procedure of Karma Yoga, as Ramanuja says. Kaschana tadvida. So as one does Karma Yoga, one is conscious of this. And this is all there in the Gita, right? And when you do all this, then what happens? Brahma Jnana Prakasascha. you come to the platform where you start appreciating Brahmajnana. And what is that platform? Samadarshi. And this Samadarshi, Krishna elaborates from 5.18 onwards, correct? Vidya Vinay Sampanne. From those verses, everything is about Samadarshi only. How many times, if you see 19th verse, look at that. Nirdosha hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stitah. Samam brahma, equanimity. Na praharshyet priyam papya, na dvijet prapya cha priyam. It's all about that. All those verses na are about samatvam. Krishna is speaking of samatvam, not only the fifth chapter, even in the sixth chapter, the first 9 verses, where Krishna says, look at a gold, stone, everything to be equal. And then Krishna says, sadhu shapisha papeshu. That means this madhyastha, dvesha, bandhu, sadhu, papeshu, everybody you have to look as sama. So this samatvam to reach. So how do you reach the samatvam? When you practice all the previous steps. When you practice this karma yoga, jnana yoga, everything, kaschana tadvida, when you are very conscious, when you are doing your things in the world, that actually I'm not doing anything, my body is doing, I'm only a witness to it. But I have to do this, so I'm doing it. That's all. And I'm doing it as an offering to the Supreme. By doing this repeatedly, Krishna is saying you will come to the platform of Samatvam. And when you come to the platform of Samatvam, fifth chapter ends over there. Then sixth chapter comes. What is sixth chapter summary? Yamunacharya, look at that. Yoga Bhyasa Vidihi Yogi Chaturtha Yoga Sadhanam Yoga Siddhasya Swayogasya Paramyam Shashtam Uchate. There are 5 topics in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yamunacharya says. First thing is Yoga Bhyasa Vidihi. How to do yoga. That is till the 28th verse of the 6th chapter. Correct? Till the 28th verse of the 6th chapter, Krishna is basically talking about how to do yoga. So all yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, everything Krishna has spoken in that. Correct? But who can do that? The fellow who has got samatvam. Because if you don't have samatvam, you cannot sit and meditate peacefully. Your mind and everything is agitated. You are constantly disturbed. You are thinking, he is my friend, he is my enemy. How can you meditate? Okay, so yoga abhyasa vidhi. Actually, this is very, very relevant to devotees also. Sometimes we think that 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is not for bhakta. No, it's not like that. We are also doing yoga only, na? That means every day morning, if you have to sit and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, correct, 16 rounds or whatever we do. So, if you have to actually do that, there has to be some samatvam, equanimity. Correct. That equanimity, when it is there, to the extent that equanimity is there, to that extent the chanting becomes, what shall I say, smooth. To the extent the equanimity is not there, to that extent so that will affect, right? Because how can you sit and do your japa or anything for that matter? So yoga abhyasa vidhi. So this vidhi is now coming from the 6th chapter. Okay, of course, Krishna is not talking here about bhakti yoga. Krishna is talking general yoga that can be even directed towards the impersonal understanding. Correct. But my point is that even a bhakta, even an aspiring bhakta, I mean, I don't want to call at least myself as a bhakta, but even an aspiring bhakta, for him, he needs to have these things in order so that he can sit and do yoga abhyasa. So yoga abhyasa vidhi is the first 28 verses of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's the first topic. Then yogi chaturda. Yogi chaturda means what? 4 types of yogis. Krishna speaks about this from 6.29 to 6.32. You know, right? We all know this. We have heard this so many times that the entire Gita is about various levels. Krishna is not saying that this is the only thing you must do. No, he's giving levels. He's giving levels of advancement. Look at text 29. Krishna says, Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam Sarva Bhutani Chatmani. Okay. That means one. So in 29, what happens is the yogi, he sees an equality between all Atmas. That is 29th verse. That when he's doing yoga, that means when he's sitting and doing his meditation, whatever meditation may be, at least at that time he starts understanding, just like I'm an Atma, everybody is an Atma like that. That is the first level of yogi. Second level is what? Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati. That means now he can see Krishna also. And that means he can understand that there is a similarity between me and Krishna. It's not only all the Atmas, but there is a Supreme Lord as well. And between the Lord and us also, there is some similarity. Correct? So whether it is Advaita Sampradaya or Dvaita or Achintya Veda Veda, In all of it, we talk about some similarity, right, between us and the Lord. That he starts understanding. Then in the third level of what happens, Sarva Bhuta Sthitam Yomam Bhajati. That means he starts understanding. If you see the verse, Krishna says, Sarvata Vartamanopi Sayogi Mai Vartate. That means he starts seeing the super soul, or he is understanding the Supreme Lord being present always. Sarvata Vartamanopi. So Ramanuja says in the previous verses he is understanding only when he's doing his yoga, but now he understands always. Okay. And in 6.32, Krishna says, Sayogi Paramo Mataha, topmost yogi. Who is that topmost yogi? Atmo Pamyena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Arjuna. That means who sees the misery, others' misery as his own and others' happiness. That means he sees the equality in him and others in terms of happiness and distress. That means how much he is affected when others become distressed, he becomes affected that much only when he becomes distressed. And how much he becomes affected when others become happy, he is affected that much only when he becomes happy. So this is considered, Krishna is saying, Yogi Paramo Mataha, the topmost yogi. So 4 levels of yoga, Yogi Chaturtha. That's what he's saying here. Yoga Sadhanam. What is this Yoga Sadhanam? Okay, Yoga Sadhana means this. The heart of yoga is what? Which Krishna says in 6.35. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. 2 things. There is practice and there is detachment. This is the sadhana of yoga, the heart of yoga. Anybody who wants to be any type of yogi, he has to have practice also and detachment also. Both things should be there. And Yoga Siddhi, the 4th topic of 6th chapter. What is Yoga Siddhi? How do you achieve perfection in yoga? You don't achieve perfection in yoga in one life. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna, right? In this life also, if it doesn't happen, don't worry. Prapya punya kritam lokan. You go to the heavenly planet. Then Suchinam Srimatam gave. Either born in a Brahmana family or a mercantile family. Or Atava Yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimata. Or one is born in the family of transcendentalists. So this is how you achieve siddhi in yoga. So, it teaches, Gita teaches us to be patient. It may not happen in one life, no problem. But Krishna is giving us assurance. Such a person is never lost. What a verse it is. If you look at that verse, it is such a hope-giving verse, Krishna. Partha neveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. Prabhupada says in the translation there, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. What a hope-giving verse Krishna says. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tacha gacchati. You are on the right path. Don't worry. You are never going to be. It's never going to happen that you will be finished. You will get chances, right? That is yoga siddhi. You will achieve siddhi in yoga. And then yogasya paramyam. What is that yogasya paramyam? 6.47 Bhagavad Gita. What is that 6.47? Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana. Correct? Shraddhavan bhajate yoga. That is yoga japa. Topmost yoga system, which is to become a bhakta. Okay, so 5 things Krishna says in the 6th chapter. Now, if you go back to that summary verse which I read, now you'll be able to appreciate. Look at that verse number 2. That was a summary of the first 6 chapters, right? Jnana karmatmike nishte yoga lakshye susamskrite atmanubhuti siddhyarte purva shatke na chodite. What is this purva shatka first 6 chapters talking about? It is talking about achieving atmanubhuti. That means what? Self-realization. How do you achieve self-realization? By yoga. How can you purify your consciousness in order to practice yoga? By performing jnana and karma yoga properly. That's it. So that is the whole sequence which we saw just now. Correct? It's just so beautiful if you think about it. There's an amazing logic in the Bhagavad Gita, right from beginning to end. Krishna has not just haphazardly said something. Such a logical presentation. Correct. Now we'll just do 3 more verses, 7th, 8th, and 9th, because we have done those chapters also. Okay, so I'm just reminding you of this verse number 3. Madhyame bhagavat tattva yatatma vapti siddhaye jnana karma avinivrityo bhakti yoga prakirtitah. The middle 6 ask us to do bhakti yoga. How it is asking us to do bhakti yoga? By teaching us bhagavat tattva, the truth about the Supreme Personality. And when we understand the truth of the Supreme Personality, are we supposed to give up that karma yoga with knowledge? No, you're not supposed to. You have to carry that along with you, Yamunacharya reminds us. Correct. So now let's go to the 7th chapter summary. Look at that. Beautiful. Swayatyatmam prakritasya tirodhihi sharanagatihi bhakta veda prabuddhasya shreshtham saptama uchyate. So Saptama is what? The 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What is 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita talking? Swayatatmyam. So Yatatmyam means what? About the Supreme Lord's nature. Okay, so that is the knowledge about him. Yatatmyam actually is knowledge. So that is in the first knowledge of the absolute. See, Prabhupada also has translated the 7th chapter like that, knowledge of the absolute. So the first part is what? Knowledge about the Supreme. What is the knowledge about the Supreme which Krishna says? Remember all those verses from 7 point, in the initial part of the 7th chapter. Bhumirapo Analo Vayu. Right? Oh, everything is owned by the Lord. Matta Paradaram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. All that is Yata. That means the knowledge of the Supreme. Who is the Supreme Lord? He is the one who possesses all this, the matter and the spirit, both are under him. Correct? Chit and Achit. Achit is matter and Chit is the Atmas. Both are subservient to the Supreme Lord. That is the knowledge which Krishna starts talking about. Then Prakritasya Tirodhihi. Then Prakritasya Tirodhihi means what? The second topic in the 7th chapter is how this Prakriti can actually Tirodhihi, how it creates obstacles. And what is that? 3 modes of material nature. I hope all of us remember 7.13 Bhagavad Gita, correct? What is 7.13? Tribir Gunamair Bhavir Evi Sarvam Vidam Jagad Mohitam Navi Janati Mamebhyaf Paramabhyam. Krishna says, though knowledge about me is so simple, but what is obstructing you or the people in the world to understand me? The 3 modes of nature. Prakritasya Tirodhihi. Then the question is, how do I overcome that? Because this is obstructing me from understanding Krishna. Sharanagatihi. Correct? Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya duratteya mame vaye prapadyante maya metam tarate. Beautiful, right? Sharanagati. That means when you surrender into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you can overcome Prakriti and then you can come to Supreme Lord. That's the point. The third topic of the 7th chapter, correct? First topic was knowledge about the Supreme. Second topic was what obstructs us from understanding him. And third is what to do to overcome that obstruction. 7.14. Bhakta Vedaha. Bhakta Vedaha means what? 4 types of devotees. Okay. What are the 4 types of devotees? Artho, Jijnasur, Artharthi, Jnani. Okay. And then Ramanuja, he takes this only as a theme for the next chapter. Basically, Artho and Artharthi are grouped together as those who are Aishwarya Kami. Then this Jijnashu is spoken about as the impersonal aspirant. And this Jnani, which is there in 7.16, is actually the Bhakta. Correct? We may sometimes get confused with the words, but I have said many times that Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam. This Jnani is the one who with knowledge comes to Krishna. Why is this knowledge spoken about? Because Gita is talking about becoming a devotee with knowledge of Krishna. Correct? That is why it is like that. Correct? Bhakta Vedaha, 4 types of devotees. Prabuddhasya Shreshtham. Shreshtham means who is the topmost among it? Who is the topmost? Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. That Jnani is a Bhakta and he is special, Krishna has already said. So these are the 5 topics of the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, correct? Then we come to the 8th chapter. So now it's all a continuation. See, Krishna is building up. Correct? Now, what is the 8th chapter? Aishwaryakshara Yatatmya Bhagavat Charanartinam Vedyopadeya Bhavanam Ashtame Veda Uchyate. Ashtame means the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What is the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita doing? It is talking about the destination of 3 people. Which 3 people? Aishwarya, Akshara Yatatmya and Bhagavat Charanartinam. Aishwarya means what? Those 2 fellows, Artho and Artharthi. Correct? Those 2 are called Aishwarya Kami here. Akshara Yatatmya means what? Those who want Aksharam Brahma Paramam. That means the impersonal liberation, Mukti, Kaivalya Mukti, who want Akshara Yatatmya. And third is Bhagavat Charanartina, who want the Supreme Personality of God at its lotus feet. These 3 people. Vedyo Padeya Bhavanam. There are differences among them. What are the differences? All those differences are said in the 8th chapter. See, such a beautiful thing. Now, if you look at the 8th chapter, one of the, of course, we all know, Amta Kale cha Mameva Smaran Muktva Karare, Yap Prayati Samad Bhavam Yati Nastyatra Samshya. This word Bhavam, which is there, there Ramanuja says, see, Bhavam means what? Depending on which nature of the Supreme you got attracted to, you go there. If you are attracted to the Lord, Aishwarya, that means the Aishwarya aspect, then you can get such Aishwaryas in the material world, like the coverings of the universe, etc. And if you are attracted to the Lord as the impersonal Brahman, you can get Kaivalya Mukti, be happy in that. And if you want Swayam Bhagavan, then what? Bhagavat Charanartinam. You can go back to the spiritual world. And the whole chapter is an elaboration of it. Now, if you look at all those verses, now it will make sense. Look at that 8.9 onwards. Kavim Purana Manusha Sitaram. Initial verses are about that. Aishwarya Kami, who want Aishwarya. He should meditate on the Lord like this. Right? And then the verse like 11, 12 and all. Yad Aksharam Veda Vido Vadanti. That is talking about the Akshara Yatatmya. That means those who want Brahman. Prabhupada's translation also you can read. It's the same. He's talking that only. Om Ityega Aksharam Brahma. Remember 8.13. Vyavaharan Ma Manuspuram. Yav Prayati Tyajan Dehan Sayati Paramam Gatim. This Paramam Gatim is not the spiritual world per se. It is about the impersonal Brahman. That is also spiritual world only, but it's like a covering. Correct? And then 8.14 is what? Bhagavat Charanartin. Look at that 8.14. Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityashah Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. There Krishna says, if somebody remembers me, I am easy to obtain. Correct? Three types. These three types have been elaborated. Then later also the same thing. See, when Krishna talks about Mamupetya Punarjanma Dukkhale Mashashvatam, why does he talk? Krishna talks about how this material world is, the Brahma, all those calculations come. Why is he talking? Because he's talking about the Aishwarya Kami. He's telling, hey, Aishwarya Kami, you have to come back here. And the problem is this world is temporary. Okay. And then that same thing is elaborated in the last part of the 8th chapter. So 8th chapter has 3 parts actually. One part of the 8th chapter is about what one should remember at death to go back. That is spoke till 8.14. Then the middle part of the 8th chapter is what is the destination? Who comes? What is the fruit of it? Okay, Aishwarya Kami, the fruit is what? He has to come back to this world and be stuck in Brahmaloka. But the Akshara Yatatmya and Bhagavat Charanartina, what happened to them? Look at those verses in the Gita. It's very clear, right? If you look at, 8.20, Krishna says, Parastasmattu bhavonyo vyakto vyakta sanatana. Yet again, there is another transcendental realm which is not destroyed. That is for the Akshara Yatatmya. That means for those who want Kaivalya. And then Krishna says about his own abode, Tadhama Paramam Mama, in 8.21. That is for the Bhagavat Charanartina. And then the last part of 8th chapter is again extremely beautiful. It talks about who comes back and who doesn't come back. Correct? You may recall that. It's the one who goes back during Amavasya, during the waning moon, during the 6 months of Dakshinayana. Actually, this is not time. It is said in Gita time, but even Prabhupada's purport, if you read, this actually comes from Ramanuja only. See, I'm reading from Prabhupada's purport 8.24. Prabhupada says, when fire, light, day and fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it should be understood that over all of them, there are presiding deities who make arrangement for the passage of the soul. Prabhupada says in that. That means what? The last part of the 8th chapter is talking about various locations in the universe through which one goes. That means those who are Aishwarya Kami, they are going to go through certain Devata Loka and ultimately come back to this world. And those who are going outside this universe, that means those who are going back to Godhead, they have another path. The path is different for both. The path has been spoken. Attaining the Supreme, na? So Krishna is speaking about what to think at dying, what is the fruit of your destination, and what is the path to be taken to achieve that destination. Beautiful, right? 8th chapter Gita. Then the last verse we are looking today, the 9th chapter of the Gita, Navama. Swamahatmyam manushyatve paratvam cha mahatmanam visheshe navame yogo bhakti yoga prakirtitaha. Navame, the 9th chapter, what is Krishna talking? Again, 5 things. Swamahatmyam, his greatness. Please remember, 7th chapter he spoke about his knowledge. Now he's speaking about his greatness. What is his greatness? Achintya Veda Veda. Look at 9.4, 9.5 and all that, right? It's all about that. He's there, he's not there, correct? Maya Tadavidam Sarvatam Jagadavyaktam Murtin, all those words. That is his greatness. Can you imagine? He's so great. Krishna is himself saying, hey Arjuna, although I'm maintainer of everything, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. See, that is his greatness. Correct? Swamahatmya. Manushyatve Paratvam. Manushyatve Paratvam means what? Even when he comes as a Manushya, he is great. He is not to be understood like an ordinary Manushya. Krishna talks about that. His greatness, there are other things also. Krishna is saying, karma does not bind me. All that he says, that is all his greatness. So, Mahatmya. Manushyatve Paratvam is the second thing. Correct? Second topic of the Gita. Where he talks about how, even though when he comes in the human form, he maintains his transcendental position. He's not to be thought that he's another human like us. Mahatmana Vishesho. Then Mahatma Vishesho. Mahatma Vishesha actually is the entire 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What is Krishna doing in the 9th chapter? Krishna is talking about Krishna is talking about Mahatmanam Vishesha. Mahatmanam Vishesha means what? The greatness of a devotee. How he talks about it? By comparing the devotee with everybody else. How do you show the greatness of something? Like sometimes, how do you show the greatness of a pure gold necklace? When you keep it besides the imitation gold and all that, then you understand what is pure gold. Pure gold is pure gold. There is no comparison only. Correct? So like that. So how do you show the Mahatmana Vishesha? Mahatma Vishesha means what? The greatness of a devotee by comparing with all the others. So that's why all the others are being spoken. The Devata worshippers, those who are going to heavenly planets, all that is spoken in the 9th chapter. The greatness of a devotee is Yoga Kshemam Vahamiham. Krishna maintains him. So all that is greatness only. Even the last part of the Gita, right? That means even if a devotee does an abominable action, Krishna says, right? 26, correct? Krishna, no, not 9.26, sorry, 9.26. One second, how did I forget? Actually, Gita should be pit pat to all of us. Yeah, 9.30. Api chesu duracharo bhajate ma mananya pak. That means if he doesn't abominable action, sadhu reva samyam. Still is to be considered sinking. All this is Mahatmana Vishesha. Correct? So almost the whole 9th chapter is Mahatmana Vishesha only. Krishna is glorifying his devotee. Krishna is just glorifying his devotee with 5 months. And then what is the 4th topic in the 9th chapter? Bhakti Yoga. How to do Bhakti Yoga. That is just 2-3 verses Krishna says. Actually only one verse. The final verse of the 9th chapter. Correct? Manmana bhava bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mameva yukteva atmanam. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. And maybe 1 or 2 more verses before Krishna had said, Yad karosi yadasnasi yad juhosi dadasi yad, or patram pushpam. Just 2-3 verses are there where Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto mam. That is also actually Mahatmana Vishesha only. Krishna is just glorifying his devotee, that how his devotee is always singing about me. But actually Krishna speaks about how to do Bhakti Yoga, very less verses. Large part of the 9th chapter is only Mahatmana Vishesha, the greatness of a devotee. Okay. So of course we are not going after this because we have done only till this much. So basically we have done till, correct, I have just done till text number 13, correct. In this Yamunacharya's work also there are another 19 verses. So we'll have to see this later. But we have done till only 9th chapter, the commentary. So that's why I looked at it. So basically the way it has been done is, Ramanujacharya, what he has done is, he has, whatever Yamunacharya wrote, Gitartha Sangraha, he elaborated that in great detail in his commentary. Okay, so that is how it is done. Right, I'll stop now. Yeah, it's almost more than an hour. We'll just take some questions if any. Yes, Vaibhavanand Prabhu, go ahead.
Dandvat Prabhuji, yeah, beautiful. The more we discuss, the more we think that it is, we don't know Gita. Somehow it is like that. This is really difficult, Prabhuji, to combine. I think most of the devotees will find it difficult to combine Karma Yoga with Bhakti Yoga. And, throughout the day we work in office, we can think of, you know, kind of practicing karma yoga and think of Krishna offering the fruits. But I cannot uh, get through this concept that actually we are not doing anything. The material nature is doing everything. This is not sinking in my mind because ultimately we are desiring at least. Yes, desire is there, and that's why we get the karma also. If material nature is doing everything, why then the karma is affecting us?
No. See, that Krishna has said in the 5th chapter, Krishna has already put that thing, that you only have to take all the reaction. I'm not going to take. Krishna has said that. So please try to understand in what sense we have to think. What is the concept that Krishna is speaking? Gunesh Varope Kartrita. What Krishna says is a very realistic thing. Whatever talents I have in my body and mind, because of which I'm doing a particular type of karma yoga, that talent is due to the 3 modes of nature. And that is not because of me. And the 3 modes of nature and the Prakriti is not because of me. Try to think about it. Like you're a programmer, let us say, or whatever you are. Somebody is a teacher. Somebody can teach very nicely, let's say. Why is he able to teach nicely? Because he has a body and mind that has that ability to do it. It's all ability. Na? In the material world, any karma yoga you do, it is the ability. That ability comes from the combination of three modes of nature. That three modes of nature is under the control of the Supreme Lord, and He has given us this body and mind composition of these three modes, due to which I am doing something. So the karma yogi is not never to become puffed up thinking that I am the doer. He's
But doesn't the person deserves to get yeah, he's got that particular body or particular nature because of his past actions, and because I think he deserves that uh, condition.
Yeah, that is correct. But try to understand yoga means what? I have to connect to the Supreme. First step in connecting to the Supreme is what? To understand that this deha which I have, na, I may say I deserved it, but it has been awarded to me na, by the Supreme Lord. Like Prabhupada gives an example, the judge gives 5 lakh compensation to somebody. Somebody may say I deserved 5 lakhs, but still the judge gave it, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have got. The award
Yeah.
is given by the judge. So similarly, here, I may have deserved my body because of a particular combination of karma, my talents, my ability, everything. But karma yogi, see, please try to understand the karma yogi, he has to go towards Atma Sakshatkar. To go towards that, if he is still puffed up thinking I am this body and mind, where from Atma Sakshatkar is going to happen? And so this is not just some theoretical understanding. This is a very deep and practical understanding. This is a reality that the Prakriti is owned by the Lord. See, that's what he's saying na? Repeatedly in the 7th chapter. Bhumirapo analo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara ityam me binna prakriti. These 8 things are my energy, Krishna says. So my body and my abilities are all Krishna's only. I am just given rent. Now I may say, okay, I deserved it. Okay. But then if somebody is puffed up thinking he deserves, then he can just stay in this world only. Na? Atma Anubhuti, he cannot go towards it. See, please try to understand. The goal of Karma
Mm.
Yoga is not to be stuck there. It is to lead you to Atma Anubhuti. Na? And for that, one has to practice this. That's why Krishna is.
Yeah. Mm. And another issue is that when the negative reaction comes, this is, we were talking about award, somebody award, getting a good things, but when negative reaction comes, then why it is said that you have to be responsible ultimately, because the concept cannot work in two different ways,
No, no.
isn't it?
Yeah, got it, got it. See, please try to understand. Nowhere we are, see, that is already spoken in the 5th chapter. The Atma is only responsible for his situation. Okay. But the thing is, he has to get detached from it. Please try to understand, by doing negative things, I cannot get detached from it. Try to understand this point carefully. That means I can't do sinful activities and think that, oh, I'm not this body. No, that's not possible, because the very reason you are doing sinful activities is because you're attached to doing that for sense pleasure. If you are not attached to sense pleasure, then why are you doing sinful act? So,
Mm.
so sinful action itself means that I am attached to the concept that I can get pleasure from matter. So that is clearly not conducive to yoga. Okay. Now
Okay.
see, these are two different things completely, right? Karma, the positive karma and negative karma are all due to you only. I mean, you means as in you, me, everybody.
Mhm.
That's correct. But here we are talking about the consciousness of a person who has to move towards Atma Anubhuti. So such a person has to understand, he has to get that detachment. So first of all, sinful acts, he is not going to get detachment. I can't say that I will do sinful activities and this is the process through which I will get detached. No, that is not possible. That Krishna has already ruled out in the 2nd chapter, where Krishna
Mm.
said that no, you cannot do that, right? So that is already ruled out. Now only the good things are there, the positive things. I mean, whatever you're doing, nice or whatever. But even from that, you have to get detached. So that's how you have to look at the flow of the Gita. You
Okay.
understood? It's not
Yeah.
from responsibility perspective. It is basically from the perspective of becoming a yogi.
Mhm. And another thing is 8.24, Prabhupada is writing that even by accident, if somebody passes away in a particular time frame,
Yeah.
you were mentioning, no, that if the
Yeah.
Surya, Chandra, if all these appear in the sky and then a person passes away, so two questions arises, that Prabhupada writes that even accidentally if somebody passes away, he is sure to go to Brahman. This is a little.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. So it's very simple. Why Prabhupada is saying like that is, that means those who are, see, it is to remind us that don't go by this timing. See what has happened in the 8th chapter. Krishna uses the word Kala. Okay. But though Krishna, somebody may look at Kala and get very disappointed. Arey yaar, I mean, if you look at that Kala, 50% of the time, if you pass away according to Krishna, you're going to come back to this material world. If you
Yeah.
look at the Vaishnava calendar, so many Vaishnavas in the past may have passed in that only Kala.
Yes.
You understood? Dakshinayana, Uttarayana. Uttarayana is when? From December to January, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, to June. That is Uttarayana, na?
Yeah. Maybe Prabhupada even
Prabhupada
passed
himself
in.
passed away in Dakshinayana only, na?
Hmm.
Right, November. So what does that mean? No, it means nothing. That's not important for a devotee.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is not Kala only. These are all deities of that Kala. That's what Prabhupada also writes in 8.24, and that's what Yamunacharya Ramanuja say originally. That's what all other acharyas have taken it from. That this Krishna, this concept in the 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says about so these are all deities of those
Mm.
places, Pitruloka
Okay.
and the light,
Okay.
the world of the light. So all these are actually deities.
So
And
if they appear, then
that
even
means that is the path through which the Atma goes. The person who's
okay.
coming back goes through one path, and the person who's going to the spiritual world goes through another path. Okay, so the point is what all acharyas are reminding us is that don't read all this thinking that it is just time, and if you passed away at some time, which is like waning moon or Dakshinayana, then you are necessarily going to come back. So they're reminding us, no, Krishna is going to take care of that. Don't worry about it. That's the point Prabhupada is making.
Okay. And another thing is like in the same thing, for example, some Muslims pass away accidentally. So there is no
Oh, no, no,
consciousness.
no, no, no. Wait one second. This is
Yeah.
only for a yogi.
Okay.
Krishna has not said anybody who passes away. No. Yogi who passes away. Oh, come on. That's already said. That's already a given.
Acha. Okay. All right.
No,
Thank you.
anybody passes away. There are dogs and cats which die at any time of the day. That doesn't mean that everybody. I mean, that's a very random way of sending people to Golok Vrindavan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple word. No.
Thank you.
Yeah, Haribol. Anybody else with any other question or comment? Any other raise of hand?
Hare
Yes, Mithanima Prabhu. I think there is some issue with your voice. I'm not sure it's my end at your end.
Bol. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Prabhuji.
yeah, better.
Prabhuji, one question. You spoke about the destination of yogi or a bhakta, right? So there are some people who want to do a lot of like charity or lot of genuine kindness they have, and they want to do a lot for this world, for lok and parlok both, right? For the universe, they want to just serve, right? What is the destination for them, Prabhu?
No. See, doing a lot for the world is part of Karma Yoga. That is
Mm-hmm.
Loka Sangraha Mevapi. Correct?
Yes.
The third chapter we had already seen. Asatya Loka Rakshaye. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
has to do something beneficial to the world as long as you're here. The whole battle of Kurukshetra was done for the benefit of the world from a political perspective to remove Duryodhana
Mm-hmm.
and keep a good king right on the throne. So that is necessary as long as you're here. See, that's what Gita is reminding us that though Paraloka is the goal, see, the Gita is not world negative. It doesn't say that just because the world is Dukkalayam Ashashvatam, let it go to hell. कोई भी sometimes we become very sadist, right? अरे किसी को भी राज करने दो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, सब कुछ नष्टी होने वाला है. No, it's not like that. That's not the vision of the Gita. No, we want a good government. Correct. The world is temporary. That everybody knows. One day it is going to get destroyed. That doesn't mean you destroy it today only. Correct. It will get destroyed in its own course whenever the Manvantara is over or whatever. Brahma's day is over, it will get destroyed.
Yes.
As long as we are there in the world, one has to try to benefit the world, because there are future generations of people who are going to come. Your son, my son, grandchildren, all these people are going to be in this world, right? And they need this world as a functioning place to stay and practice dharma. Then only they can
Yes.
go back to
I
Godhead.
agree.
If the whole
Yes.
world is, in ruins in terms of governance and adharma, then how will they even function? Correct. So that is why Ihaloka and Paraloka both are spoken in the Gita. Ihaloka is spoken by Krishna not only in the third chapter, but till 18th chapter, Krishna is speaking about Ihaloka. Krishna is warning Arjuna, hey Arjuna, if you don't fight, then this is not going to be good. Krishna is reminding him of that. because Ihaloka is important. See, this is the beauty of the Gita. The Gita is talking about Paraloka without forgetting Ihaloka. Unfortunately, preachers of the Gita may forget Ihaloka sometimes. That's a different matter. But the Gita psychology
Yes.
does not forget Ihaloka. Loka sangraham evapi sampashyan kartum. Are you getting the point? I mean, you look at even
Yes.
contemporary, like you see Radhanan Maharaj's life also, right? So much, it's all Ihaloka,
Yeah.
right? Maharaj talks about, whether it is the Ganga Jamuna Saraswati project, in Palghar, when we went this time for the Vyas Puja also, right? They were talking about what they are doing in the villages around. They are addressing, they said, right? They're addressing the water needs of people in that area. They are addressing their health needs. They are addressing their educational needs and their spiritual needs. Because please understand, you can't address spiritual needs of anybody without the first three. Pani chahiye, khana chahiye, education chahiye, health chahiye, swasthya. Only then you can address spiritual. So this all comes under Ihaloka.
Yes.
So
Yes.
any saint in any sampradaya, he cannot say I have nothing to do with Ihaloka. No. Whether it is a Shankara, even though they say Jagan Mithya, even they engage in that.
Okay.
So you can't be dismissive about the world. And that is Gita, certainly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Haribab. Yeah. Brajendra Kumar Prabhu, go ahead.
Prabhuji, the Gita Sangra PDF that you are showing, it doesn't have translations.
So I have put in the Google Drive now on the group today. Just half an hour back, I put in the group chapter wise, still 9 chapters. That has Gita Artha Sangraha. In every chapter, the first verse is Gita Artha Sangraha.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
I put it already.
Okay, so that has the translations.
That has the translations. But more than the translations, the explanations are important. That's what we have been going through since 4 many months.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Tarak
No
Rai,
other questions.
yeah. Tarak Rai, you had something? Your hand was up. Okay. I think there's no other question, so we can stop. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Babuji. Sorry.
Yeah.
Babuji, I mean, as a sequence, you mentioned that, I mean, by doing the Karma Yoga and the Jnana, like we come to the stage of yoga, right?
Yeah. Samatvam.
And then when we are in
Samatvam, one practices yoga. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like in the stage of yoga, I'm like we'll be able to practice the bhakti yoga on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Krishna in 6th chapter is talking about impersonal yoga actually. I mean, he's not talking about a bhakti yogi there. But a devotee will do bhakti yoga only, right? I mean, he's not going to sit and meditate on himself. He's going to meditate on Krishna.
Right. So, Prabhuji, I mean, the question is, I mean, is karma yoga different than the bhakti yoga, or activities are same, but only the consciousness is different?
No, it is different. See, technically it is different. Technically, see, the difference in karma yoga is, see, it all merges seamlessly at one point. See, I'll tell you how it is. When we are describing these things, there will be some difference. But in action, it all gets merged up. Like Arjuna, correct? He's fighting, right? He is, right? He's fighting with Duryodhan. And then he is sitting and doing some prayer. He is focusing on the Supreme Lord, serving Krishna. How can you distinguish that so much? Abhi karma yoga kar raha hai Arjuna from morning 6 to evening. Now he's doing bhakti because now he's meditating. No. So at one level, what happens is that bhakti basically permeates every drop of your existence, correct? So then it becomes connected. So a devotee, even when he's doing his normal daily actions, he may be cooking, he may be doing something which may be apparent karma, but he will be thinking about Krishna that time. He will be chanting Krishna's name. He will be reminded of Krishna. So just like Arjuna is shooting arrows, correct? Ma manusmara yudhyacha. But even in that, he will be remembering Krishna constantly. It may not be continuous at every microsecond, because obviously even Arjuna is focusing on whom to kill when he's shooting the arrow. But then time to time, he will keep remembering spontaneously. So bhakti starts permeating every aspect of your life. Then it becomes very difficult. So then that distinction becomes technical. But otherwise, technically, the distinction is there. Where in karma yoga, Correct. You're doing as per the modes of the body. You're doing it in a detached fashion. You're doing it for the benefit of the world. You're doing it without pride that you are the doer, and you're doing it as an offering to Supreme. That is Karma Yoga. Right? Bhakti Yoga is Manmana Bhavamas Bhakto Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi. All that becomes Bhakti Yoga. But then it all gets combined, because in winning Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi, if you see what does Krishna say, whatever you do it as an offering to me. So at one level, it starts getting combined, and then ultimately you cannot differentiate so much that now he's a jnani because he's thinking about Atma. No, it's not like that. Doesn't make sense.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
But in the description, there is a difference. In the description, there is a difference.
So initially,
difference nahi hai, lekin isme
so
difference.
initially, I mean, like everybody starts and the like Karma Yoga as a major thing, but eventually, I mean, like the Bhakti Yoga becomes the major part of
Yeah.
it because
Also,
it permeates everything.
There's nothing like beginning. That is very theoretical again. If you see in India, traditionally, every karma yogi also did some bhakti, right? I mean, everybody did some devotion to the Lord. But just that, to the extent your karma yoga was evolved, to that extent your consciousness was purified, to that extent you had samatvam, sameness of mind, to that extent your meditation was powerful, to that extent your bhakti was deeper. Correct?
Yeah.
So it's about, what shall I say? It's about going deep into it. It's not about it's I wouldn't even say that if you're preaching to somebody you have to tell them, hey, from tomorrow you have to do only karma yoga. No, it's not like that. Bhakti yoga we will give them immediately also. That is fine. But the depth of it he will realize, or he will relish or something, only when he goes through that, right? His consciousness has to come to a level, na? Otherwise,
Proji, one point here, I think,
Sure.
for Bhakti Yoga, the main purpose is to please Krishna. And in Karma Yoga, pleasure of Krishna may not be there. It is just like you are just offering the fruits of the activity to Krishna. But in Bhakti Yoga, the pleasure of Krishna becomes or takes prominence.
Prabhuji, that is what, na? That is just the block. See, it is all integrated again, right? See, Karma Yoga also has offering to the Supreme. So one may say that here is offering to Supreme in a more formal manner. But here is offering to Supreme like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Manasa deho geho jo kichumor arpilu tuva pade nanda kishore. Correct? Is it Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga? Correct. Manasa deho geho means whatever I have, I'm offering to you. In one sense, it is 3.9 Bhagavad Gita. Yajnartat karmano anyatra. But in another sense, it is Bhakti, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself is very deep into that attachment to Krishna, and he's seeing everything, his family, his house, his property, everything as just for the sake of the Supreme. See, that is just see, please try to understand. Bhakti is that emotion, right? Which that deep feeling, that love, that attraction to the Supreme, because of your depth of your meditation and practice of sadhana, correct? But externally, he's a karma yogi only in one sense. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going, he's doing cases, he's having 14 children, all that is going on.
Yeah, so maybe a Bhakti yogi develops the love for the Supreme.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. So
and
karma
that
yoga
may
is
not be a.
That's what. Now see, in description, these are all different. My point is again the same. But in reality, it all gets merged together. Na? The only difference being a neophyte, so to speak.
Yeah.
Even like, I mean, we could say about ourselves, like about myself. I can say that, okay, I'm just trying to be a devotee, correct? But where have we developed that kind of love for Krishna? Correct. Na?
And may not be true for a Karma Yogi. Karma Yogi may be, may not have love for Krishna, but he is offering fruits.
Please try to understand, Karma Yoga na, is a broader description. There you may not even be offering to Krishna. That's why, if you remember, I said in the 4th chapter, Krishna talks about different types of Karma Yogis.
Yeah, true.
Somebody may be offering, like Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir. I remember once I had gone to one group, one education related conference. So that was done by one group of people. So before the bhojan was served, they were like Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahma Agno, Brahmana Hutam, all this is Brahma. And, they were saying that prayer before honoring, like we say Mahaprasade Govinde. Correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah, fine. So that is also Karma Yoga. They are Karma Yogis by name, because they are offering it to the Supreme.
True.
Karma Yoga, Krishna, yeah. So see, so that difference is there. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, please try to understand, a bhakta doesn't mean Karma Yoga goes away. See, this is a very important thing that we have to remember. Whether it is great devotees like Gopis of Vrindavan, or the Brahmana Patni, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or anybody, correct? Externally, karma is only going on. Bhakti is nothing but that evolution of their consciousness to the peak. Okay, but this understanding that karma yoga itself is, something which is like, oh, hey, chhod do yaar isko. No, this is not Gita understanding. You can say it is your understanding about devotion, but that is not Gita.
Yeah, true.
And I'm not even saying that devotees are not there like that. In every sampradaya, there has been devotees, right? Like if you see the Alvars, they didn't do any karma yoga per se. Or if you see our Goswamis of Vrindavan, Raghunath Das Goswami, what karma yoga was he doing? Okay. So please try to understand. There are perfected devotees in throughout history who did bhakti as the only thing without doing anything else. There are some. You will see examples. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
But Gita is not talking about it. See, please try to understand. There is this book, Bhagavad Gita, which has its own, what shall I say, psychology. And this is more relatable to people like you and me, because this is where we are. We don't even have the eligibility to give up karma. In fact, I will say that almost 100% of the world doesn't have the eligibility to give up karma in today's world. Who has? Correct? You just make a joke of yourself by saying that you can give it up. No, you cannot. You're forced. Krishna is saying that. Are you getting the point? Yeah. Yeah, Gaurav Prabhu, you had a question?
Yes, sir, Prabhuji, thank you for the class. Thank you very much. Prabhuji, one question I have is, see, this is regarding the material modes of nature. See, when we even do seva, seva could be in terms of serving the deities or doing some service in the temple, in the community, congregation. How do we understand whether our seva is in the mode or is in the rasic mode? It's more in the achiever mode. It's more in the achiever mode, that okay, I will do this thing, I will do that thing. So for example, even if you serve the deities, you may say, okay, fine, I'll offer them 10 bhoga offerings today. Now it could be out of love, it could also be out of your passion, right? So how do we identify, whether it is in the mode of passion? That is one. And second is, even if it is in a mode of passion, what should somebody do? Should the person stop doing it, or should the person continue and think, okay, it will get resolved over a period of time? Similarly, in temple also, somebody may think, let me do so and so service, a big service out of love also, but also there could be some sort of this thing about, about your own contribution, that okay, I can do so much. Is my question clear, Prabhuji?
Clear, very much clear. See, I'll answer it in two ways. Since you took the example of deity worship, in the formal deity worship that we do now in temples, before we enter the altar, we have to do something called Manasa Puja. Okay, this is there in every sampradaya. I did some study on that. The Sri Vaishnavas, Madhuvas, our own ISKCON temple also, we have Manasa Puja. In Manasa Puja is considered more important than the real puja sometimes. The whole goal in Manasa Puja is you have to say all those prayers and meditate that you are not the doer. You are just the instrument in the hand of your guru doing this. Your guru is only doing all this, the dressing. You are not doing only. That is Manasa Puja actually. And many people, I heard one talk, this is not even in our sampradaya, in another sampradaya, I heard this talk. The person says that sometimes Manasa Puja is done even for half an hour or a very long period of time. One goes into that meditation that I am not the doer, I am just my guru's instrument sitting and doing this puja. My guru is only serving these deities. I am just his extended hand doing this seva to the deity. Since you told about deity worship, I am just making this point. So actually, Vaishnavas have this very explicit way of making it clear to our own mind that I am not the doer and I am just an instrument of my guru. But of course, this is there only in deity worship, but actually it is there everywhere. Even when we give a class, all the prayers that we say, it is all to maintain this consciousness only, that I am sitting on this Vyasasana just repeating what Vyasa has said. I am nothing. I am just trying to be a transparent via media between Vyasa, who gave this Mahabharata, and the audience. Gopi Prandan Prabhu, I loved it. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when he wrote the introduction, he writes, preface to Brihad Bhagavatam, he writes, I can't take much credit, he says, because I have only served as a middleman between Sanatan Goswami's exquisite Sanskrit poetry and Jayadvaita Maharaj and Dravida Prabhu, who made the English as delightful as the Sanskrit. So he basically says that he only actually translated entire Sanatan Goswami's work into English, but he says I can't take any credit. Sanatan Goswami had written Sanskrit, I converted it to English, and this Jayadvaita Maharaj and this Dravida Prabhu, they refined the English and they have published the book. How can I take any credit? He writes like that in the preface. So I think in every sevana, this consciousness is very important to explicitly cultivate also. This is done formally through that prayers that is recited before doing anything, where one remembers this. I'm just an instrument. I'm not any doer over. Okay. Having said that, it is also true that sometimes, in the domain of bhakti, like in our temples also, it becomes like a karma yoga in the sense that according to the nature of the modes I have, I take a particular service. Please try to understand. It's not that I will do any service. Correct. Like I mean, I like to honestly give lectures, so that's what I always look forward to, where I can give a talk or something, because that's my nature based on the moods of nature that I have. So I keep looking for that. There's nothing wrong in that, because the body and the mind is in a particular fashion, and we are trying to serve Krishna, which is in line with our own body and mind. Okay, so understanding our own nature and trying to serve Krishna according to that is also fine. But even in that, this prayerful mood is very important, explicitly cultivated, of manasa puja. That's the technical term. Yeah, Haribol. Is that okay? Gaurav
Yeah.
Prabhu?
So Prabhuji, thanks for that. Prabhuji, see, I think we can do all that manas puja and the prayers and everything, but I think practically speaking, it may take some time for people to actually come to that platform, because
Agreed.
there could be certain degrees of arrogance still in within the heart that okay, I'm doing this. Is that correct, or is that
No, what you are saying is correct, but I would say that is a path to perfection. I mean, even if it is
Hmm.
there, even let us say somebody is like that, very proud and very much in passion in doing. I would say still at least he's serving Krishna. That's the beginning. Slowly he will start understanding. Correct. That
okay?
should not feel so puffed up and he should become more so. See, it's a journey. See, we have to look at this whole Bhagavad Gita yoga process as a journey. It's not something that's going to happen very quickly. People will take a few lifetimes. That could be few, it can be million or whatever it is. But that's fine.
Hmm.
At least he's serving. At least he's not using passion to do something in the pure material sense. He's at least serving Krishna with passion. Chalo, koi baat nahi. Narad Muni says,
Got it, Prabhuji.
canto. What is that? There is a very famous verse in the seventh canto where he says that Bayat Kamso, Kamat Gopi. That means Gopya Kamat Bayat Kamso. Like that it starts that verse. So he says that because of different things engaging in connection with Krishna, all these people got purified each successor. So that is also fine. At least that's the beginning.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Last question, Rajendra Kumar, your hand is up for the previous question or is it a new question? Okay, I don't think he's there. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And
Sorry, Prabhu, I was on mute. You gave examples of devotees. So I was also thinking the same way that there are some devotees who just like Prithu Maharaj, he comes and he does so much of karma yoga, and then he shows that samatvam and then ultimately pure devotion service. So if we study the life of some devotees who have gone through this karma yoga and all that, we will be able to map what Bhagavad Gita is saying.
sure.
In case of Janak Maharaj, did he show that pure devotional service, or he was mostly hiding that pure devotional service?
No. Please try to understand. All these Mahajanas, they have done pure devotional service. But it is not that when they become pure devotee or pure devotional service, they gave up karma yoga. See, that's the point. See,
Yeah.
that's where we sometimes misunderstand Gita. Don't look at it as a ladder which is to be kicked out. I mean, not that you have reached bhakti, matlab karma yoga or lat maro abhi. Aisa nahi hota na. So in the 18th chapter also, I'm sorry to use that word, very strong word, but 18th chapter also, Krishna has presented bhakti very integrated. So as you said about Prithu Maharaj, or if you see Pandavas, you see all these characters in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There is nothing like it. I mean, there is a very, maybe at some end point in life they give up karma yoga. Like if you read
Yeah. At the end point, yeah.
the world, correct? Na? That is there na chapter 15. Chapter 15 only it is, right? the Pandavas retire timely, that chapter.
Yes.
That means, so that's a very small part of life where you actually give up external action.
Hmm.
That's how much in your life? Hardly anything. Hardly anything. Maybe some few years at the end.
Okay, so while doing karma yoga, the intensity of offering to Krishna just keeps increasing, maturing,
That's
and
because your
deepening.
devotion internally is blossoming because you're doing good yoga.
Right.
So you're doing the same things externally. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
But your consciousness has become more and more infused with Krishna Chaitanya.
Yes. I
And
mean,
infected every aspect of your breath and life like that.
right. I mean, the example of Yudhishthira Maharaj doing Rajasuya Yagya is a very, I mean, it's deeper on his side, and on
Yes.
externally, it seems like he's doing it for his, forefathers.
Perfect.
But the reason everything is for Krishna.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की
जय।
और भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरे हरि बोल।